You ever see someone walk through the halls and everyone turns just to whisper? That was Elena Cruz, a sweet, brown-skinned 18-year-old girl with second-hand clothes, worn sneakers, and a backpack held together by pins. She was quiet, too quiet for a college filled with kids wearing designer brands and $1,000 smiles. Every day, she came early. Same seat, front row, notebook perfectly lined, and left before anyone could stop her, because stopping meant being noticed, and being noticed meant being mocked. Her classmates, especially Brittany Summers, the blonde daughter of a real estate tycoon, and her crew made Elena's life miserable. It wasn't physical, no. It was worse. The whispers, the fake pity. Did you borrow that from the lost and found? Careful, Britt. She might ask for a ride home in your Tesla. They laughed every single day. And you know what hurt most? The teachers heard it. They just turned away. Because Brittany's father funded the science wing. But there was one person who didn't laugh. Liam Parker, the student body president. Tall, confident, clean-cut Caucasian guy with kind blue eyes who always seemed to be part of the in crowd. He didn't mock Elena, but he didn't stop it either. And maybe that's what hurt most of all. One day, it went too far. They were having a group presentation. Elena, nervous but prepared, walked up to the podium. Brittany whispered loud enough for everyone to hear. Maybe she'll teach us how to shop at thrift stores. Laughter erupted. Elena froze. Her voice cracked. Her notes trembled in her hand. And then, the professor said nothing that night. Elena cried into her pillow until her chest ached. But when she woke up, something changed. She whispered to herself, "They want to laugh? I'll give them something they'll never forget." What would you have done if you saw someone being humiliated like that? Would you speak up, or stay silent like everyone else? Hey there, my wonderful family and friends. Welcome back. If you're ready to dive into today's story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments where you're tuning in from. I love seeing where everyone's watching. And guess what? There's another amazing story coming your way tomorrow. One you definitely don't want to miss. Alright then. Let's get started. The morning after that humiliating presentation, Elena didn't cry. Not anymore. She sat on her narrow bed, sunlight cutting across her small apartment, and whispered to herself, "They think I'm weak because I don't fight back. Maybe it's time they see what I can do." Outside her window, the city buzzed. College students rushing to class, cars honking, the world moving on as if her pain didn't matter. But inside her, something had shifted. Elena opened her old, scratched-up laptop, a donation from her church, and began typing. Not an essay, not a rant, a story. It started small. She wrote about a girl from the wrong side of town who dreamed big, who faced laughter, shame, and cruelty but still stood tall. It wasn't fiction. It was her life, disguised in ink. Every night after her part-time diner job, she came home, opened that laptop, and poured her heart onto the screen. Each keystroke was a wound healing. Each sentence, a quiet rebellion. Meanwhile, at campus, Brittany and her friends weren't done. They mocked her behind her back, posting pictures of her thrift store outfits on private group chats. They even created a meme, Ms. Dollar Tree Diva. It went viral, at least among the students, and that's when Liam saw it. He was scrolling between study notes when her picture popped up on his feed, captioned cruelly, comments laughing. Something in him twisted. He'd seen her before. That quiet fire when she tried to speak. The way her hands trembled, not from weakness, but from holding back tears. And suddenly, he couldn't stay quiet anymore. That same day, Liam caught Brittany and her clique in the student lounge. "Delete that post," he said, voice steady. She rolled her eyes. "Relax, Liam. It's just a joke." "A joke?" His voice rose. "You call ruining someone's confidence a joke?" The room went silent. For the first time, someone had stood up to her, but Brittany smirked. "You're defending her now? What? You got a crush on Miss Charity Case?" Laughter rippled again. Liam walked out, disgusted. That evening, Elena got an email. It was from the campus arts committee. They'd read one of her short stories she'd quietly submitted for a contest. The theme, Courage in Silence. She'd been selected as a finalist to read it aloud at the graduation showcase. Her breath caught graduation, the same hall where she'd been humiliated, the same faces that laughed at her. But this time, she wouldn't hide. She practiced every night, in front of a cracked mirror, at bus stops. Even in her diner's kitchen during breaks, she imagined looking out at those faces, not with fear, but strength, and slowly, confidence began to replace her pain. Then came the twist. A week before the showcase, someone leaked her story, anonymous. It spread like wildfire through the school forums. Students whispered in hallways, "Did you read that? That's Elena's." "Wait, is it about us?" Brittany was furious. She called it a pity stunt. But others started to see Elena differently. The janitor nodded at her, professors smiled softly. Even strangers defended her online. For the first time, Elena wasn't invisible. And that terrified Brittany. If you were Elena, would you still go on stage and face the same people who mocked you, or would you walk away after what they did? Graduation week arrived, the air thick with excitement and nerves. The campus looked different under the spring sun. Students posed for selfies, parents carried flowers, and the air smelled like fresh beginnings. But for Elena, it wasn't just another graduation. It was her reckoning. She stood backstage, clutching her printed story, the story that had been leaked, mocked, and shared thousands of times online. The words were hers, but the whispers around her weren't. She's just milking the sympathy. She's acting like she's the victim, even after everything. People still doubted her, but Liam didn't. He walked up to her, wearing his graduation gown and a soft, reassuring smile. "Hey," he said gently, "ignore them. You earned this moment." Elena looked up, unsure whether to believe him. "Why do you care, Liam? You never cared before." His smile faded. "You're right, I didn't. I stayed quiet when I should have spoken up. That's on me." He hesitated, then added, "But I'm here now, and I believe in you." For a second, her heart softened, but just as quickly. The stage manager called her name, "Elena Cruz, you're next." She took a deep breath. This was it. Meanwhile, across the room, Brittany Summers was brewing her final act. She wasn't used to losing, and definitely not to someone like Elena. She and her friends had been planning something for days, a cruel joke they'd rigged with the tech booth operator. While Elena read her story, they'd project one of her old Dollar Tree diva memes, the same humiliating photos that had once gone viral. Right behind her, Brittany smiled to herself, whispering, "Let's see how she handles that." Back on stage, Elena stepped up to the podium. The auditorium fell silent. She looked out, hundreds of faces, the same ones that once turned away. Her hands trembled, but her voice was steady. "My name is Elena Cruz," she began softly, "and this is my story. Courage in Silence." As she read, her voice gained power. She spoke about loneliness, kindness, and how cruelty hides behind smiles. She spoke about how silence isn't weakness. It's strength waiting for the right moment to speak. The audience leaned in. You could feel it. That collective pull when truth starts cutting through the air. And then it happened. The screen behind her flickered. A photo flashed up, one of the memes. Laughter erupted from a corner of the room. Elena froze. Gasps spread. The projection changed to another. Her old clothes. Her thrift store shoes. Mockery in HD. Brittany smirked from her seat, whispering to her friend. "Showtime." Elena's voice cracked. Her eyes darted toward the crowd. People whispering, pointing, and then she saw Liam, standing near the sound booth, shouting, "Turn it off! Turn it off!" The operator hesitated. He'd been paid to humiliate her, but now, with the whole audience watching in stunned silence, guilt took over. The screen went black. Elena stood still. The microphone hummed softly as tears welled in her eyes. She could have walked away. She could have broken down. But instead, she whispered into the mic, "Those photos, they're real. That's me." The audience fell silent. "Yes, I wore those clothes. Yes, I couldn't afford more. And yes, they laughed at me. But what they didn't know," her voice grew stronger, "is that behind every joke, every whisper, every cruel laugh. There's someone trying their hardest just to survive the day. She paused. I used to think silence meant weakness, but now I know. Silence means resilience. And I'm done being silent. The crowd erupted. Applause, cheers, even a few tears, and among them, Liam, standing tall, clapping the hardest. But Brittany wasn't done. She stood, shouting, she's just manipulating everyone. You all feel sorry for her because she's poor. All eyes turned to her. Liam spoke up, his voice booming. Brittany, we all saw what you did. You tried to destroy her, and she still stood stronger than you ever could. The crowd murmured in agreement. Cameras were rolling. Students whispered, she did this? Brittany? Brittany froze, for the first time. She looked small. After the event, Elena walked out into the hallway, tears streaming down her face. Liam followed quietly. You were amazing, he said softly. She laughed through her tears. I just told the truth. He smiled. Sometimes that's the bravest thing anyone can do. In the distance, Brittany stormed out of the auditorium, surrounded by silence, her power gone, her followers turning away, and for Elena, her silence had finally spoken louder than their cruelty ever could. If someone publicly tried to humiliate you like that, would you have kept speaking, like Elena, or would you have walked off that stage? The video hit TikTok first. A student named Devin, who'd been live streaming the graduation, posted it under the caption, she was humiliated on stage. And then she gave the most powerful speech I've ever heard. Within hours, it exploded. Clips of Elena's trembling voice filled every feed. People shared, commented, and stitched it. Teachers, mothers, activists, even celebrities. The hashtags trended. Hashtag stand with Helena. Hashtag silence is strength. Hashtag stop the bullies. In less than 24 hours, the clip hit 10 million views. News outlets began to pick up the story. Headlines flashed across screens. High school senior turns public humiliation into viral moment of courage. Bullied Latina student brings crowd to tears. The world suddenly knew her name. Elena Cruz, once invisible, had become a symbol of strength. But inside her tiny apartment, Elena wasn't celebrating. She sat cross-legged on her bed, scrolling through comments. Some made her smile. You're so brave. My daughter needed to see this. Thank you for speaking for those of us who never could, but others still hurt. She's just doing this for attention. Don't fall for it. She's acting. Her mom, Lucia, walked in quietly with 2 mugs of hot cocoa. Me, Emmer, she said softly. Don't read those. Elena sighed. Mom, they don't even know me. And yet they think they do. Her mother placed a hand on her cheek. People talk. They always will. But you made them listen. Elena smiled faintly, resting her head on her mom's shoulder. I just wanted it to stop, Mom. I didn't mean for all this. I know, Lucia said, stroking her hair. But maybe the world needed to hear it. Meanwhile, at a coffee shop across town, Liam scrolled through his phone, watching the views climb. The video of him confronting Brittany had gone viral. 2 comments flooded his inbox. Finally, a guy stood up. This is what allyship looks like. But for him, the spotlight didn't feel right. He wasn't the hero. Elena was. He took a sip of coffee and smiled softly at the screen. About time she got the respect she deserves. He murmured, at school, everything had changed. The same hallways where people once whispered cruel jokes now buzzed with guilt and sympathy. Even teachers treated Elena differently, with respect, almost awe. When she walked in, people didn't laugh. They smiled. One of her classmates, the same girl who'd once filmed her tripping in the cafeteria, came up and said, Elena, I just want to say, I'm sorry for everything. Elena hesitated, then nodded. Thank you. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was a start. But for Brittany Summers, it was the opposite. Her name was trending too, just not the way she wanted. Screenshots of her cruel messages, her fake accounts, even her DMs surfaced. People from other schools, even adults, called her out. She tried to delete everything, but it was too late. Universities that once chased her for scholarships began quietly retracting offers. Her perfect image was unraveling. At first, she was furious. Then she just went quiet. One afternoon, she sat in her car outside the school parking lot, staring at the screen. Her reflection mirrored over the hateful comments she once used to write about others. For the first time in her life, she understood what it felt like to be on the other side. A few days later, Elena got an email she never expected. Invitation. Morning America interview request. She gasped. Her mom ran in. What happened? Elena turned the screen to her, hands trembling. They want to interview me. About everything. Lucia's eyes filled with pride. Mija, this is your moment. You tell your story. Your way. The interview day arrived. Bright lights, cameras, the city skyline behind her. The host smiled warmly. Elena, millions have seen your video. What message do you want to give to everyone watching right now? Elena took a deep breath. I want to tell anyone who's ever been bullied or laughed at. You are not your pain. You're not what they say about you. You're stronger than that. And your silence doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're waiting until the world is ready to hear you. The audience clapped. It wasn't just applause, it was recognition. For the first time in her life, Elena Cruz was seen for who she truly was. When she returned home that night, the porch light was on. Liam sat on the steps, holding a small bouquet of wildflowers. You were incredible, he said softly. She smiled. You watched. Twice, he said. Maybe 3 times, she laughed. And for the first time in months, it wasn't nervous. It was light. He stood, offering her the flowers. Guess this means you're officially famous now. Elena shook her head. No, Liam. It just means people finally listened. And as they sat together, the sun setting behind the quiet neighborhood, she realized something profound. She hadn't just survived the cruelty. She turned it into a movement. If you saw a video like Elena's go viral, would you just scroll past it? Or would you share it to stand up against bullying? Be honest. The following week, spring sunlight spilled through the high school courtyard. Soft, golden, almost forgiving, Elena sat under the old oak tree that had seen it all. The laughter, the whispers, the tears. It was her spot. Her quiet space. She was sketching in her notebook when she heard footsteps, slow, hesitant ones. Elena? She looked up. It was Brittany. No camera crew. No friends. Just her. Shoulders slumped. Hair tied back. Eyes swollen like she hadn't slept in days. Elena's instinct was to close her book and walk away. But something in Brittany's expression stopped her. For once, there was no arrogance. No smirk. Just guilt. Can I sit? Brittany asked quietly. Elena hesitated, then nodded. Yeah, sure. They sat in silence for a moment. The kind of silence that's heavy, almost sacred. Brittany finally spoke. I know you don't owe me anything, but I needed to say this in person. Elena said nothing, just stared at her sketch. Brittany swallowed hard. I was cruel to you, because I could be. Because it made me feel powerful. And that's not an excuse. It's just the truth. Her voice cracked. When the video blew up, I thought people were being too harsh on me. But then I read what they were saying, and I realized those are the same words I used to destroy you. She looked up, tears clinging to her lashes. I hate what I see in myself, Elena. I hate that I became the person who made someone else feel worthless. Elena's throat tightened. She had imagined this moment for years. Brittany begging for forgiveness. But now that it was here, it didn't feel victorious. It felt sad. Do you even know what it felt like? Elena whispered. To wake up dreading the day. To pretend not to hear the laughter in the halls. You made me hate myself, Brittany. I know, Brittany said, her voice breaking. And I'll live with that. I want to change. I already withdrew from the pageant circuit. I joined a mental health club on campus. I want to use what I've done to help stop others from doing the same. Elena looked at her, truly looked at her, not the flawless queen bee everyone adored, but a scared girl trying to rebuild herself. Brittany, she said softly, you can't erase what happened, but maybe you can make sure it doesn't happen to someone else. Brittany nodded, tears streaming freely now. Can you ever forgive me? Elena took a deep breath, her chest trembling. I don't know if I can yet, she admitted, but I think I can stop hating you. And maybe that's a start. That night, Elena went home and opened her laptop. Her inbox was full of messages, stories from strangers who'd been bullied and silenced, thanking her for giving them courage. One message stood out. It read, I was planning to end my life next week, but your speech made me stop and think. Maybe there's hope for people like me. Elena's tears blurred the words. She whispered, maybe that's why it happened. Maybe it was so someone else could find light. A few weeks later, graduation day arrived. The auditorium was packed, families, cameras, reporters. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement, but this time, it wasn't about pageants or popularity. It was about unity. The principal took the stage. Before we present the diplomas, he said, we'd like to honor a student who reminded us what true courage looks like. He called her name, Elena Cruz. Applause thundered through the hall. Even Brittany clapped, tears glimmering in her eyes. Elena walked to the stage in her simple white gown, holding her head high. No one was laughing now. When she reached the podium, she looked out at the sea of faces. Some guilty, some proud, all watching. She smiled softly. I used to think being different meant being alone, she began. But I learned something. Being different means being real. And when you're real, you give others permission to be real too. She paused, her voice steady but emotional. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting what people did to you. It's about refusing to let their actions define you. The crowd stood, clapping. Some wiped away tears. Liam, sitting in the front row, smiled through misty eyes. Elena looked toward Brittany, who mouthed, thank you. And for the first time, Elena nodded, really nodded, as if saying, you're welcome. We both get to move on now. After the ceremony, as students tossed caps in the air, Liam found her by the exit. You did it, he said, grinning. She laughed softly. No, we did it. He handed her a small silver locket. Inside was a photo, Elena, her mom, and their rescue dog, Coco. Just a reminder, Liam said, that you're never alone. Elena's eyes filled. Thank you. As the two walked out of the auditorium into the golden sunset, the air felt lighter, as if all the pain, all the humiliation, had finally burned away. It wasn't revenge that freed her. It was forgiveness. Weeks later, Elena started a YouTube channel. The Other Side of the Mirror. Her first video opened with her sitting in her bedroom, smiling shyly into the camera. Hi, I'm Elena Cruz, she said. I used to think my story ended in pain, but it didn't. It started there. The comments poured in. Stories, support, solidarity. She wasn't just a survivor anymore. She was a voice. Do you believe people like Brittany, who bully and break others, truly deserve forgiveness if they try to change? What would you have done in Elena's place? 2 years later, the sound of waves rolled softly against the Santa Monica shore. Seagulls drifted overhead, and children laughed as they chased the tide. A young woman sat on a weathered wooden bench, her long brown hair catching the sunlight. She wore a soft white dress, sandals, and a silver locket that glimmered faintly with each breath. It was Elena Cruz. She had changed, not just in how she looked, calm, radiant, confident, but in how she carried herself. The weight that once bent her shoulders was gone. She was waiting for someone, and right on cue, she saw him, Liam, holding 2 iced coffees and wearing that same crooked grin. He sat beside her, handing her one. Extra caramel, no foam, he said. Still your favorite. Elena laughed. You remember everything. He sipped his own and nodded toward the camera bag beside her. So, how's the filming going? She smiled. Good, actually. Better than good. The channel hit 2 million subscribers last week. That's amazing, Liam said, proud. All those stories you share. You're helping people. Elena gazed out at the ocean. It's still surreal sometimes. I started that channel just to heal, but now it's become a home for others. Her channel, The Other Side of the Mirror, had grown into a movement. People from all over the country, Victims, survivors, even former bullies sent her their stories. She would read them on camera, her voice soft and steady, like a friend telling you it's okay to hurt, and even more okay to rise. Each video ended with her tagline, "You're not broken. You're becoming." It was simple, but it hit people where it mattered most, right in the heart. "Guess who reached out last week?" Liam said, breaking the moment. Elena tilted her head. "Who?" "Brittany." Elena froze slightly. "Really?" He nodded. "She's working with a youth nonprofit now, talking about social media bullying, helping teens navigate hate online. She mentioned you inspired her." Elena smiled softly, staring at the horizon. "I'm glad. Everyone deserves a second chance." Liam looked at her. "You really believe that?" She turned to him, her brown eyes gentle but sure. "I have to. If I don't believe people can change, then I haven't learned anything." Just then, a little girl ran up, holding a phone. "Are you Elena Cruz?" Elena smiled. "Yes, I am." The girl grinned shyly. "My mom and I watch all your videos. You helped her when she was sad. She says you're her hero." Elena's throat tightened. She knelt, smiling warmly. "Tell your mom she's her own hero, okay?" The girl nodded eagerly, hugged her, and ran off. Liam chuckled softly. "Still changing lives, huh?" Elena blushed. "Just trying to make the world a little softer." As the sun began to set, the two of them walked along the pier, hand in hand. The sky was painted in hues of amber and rose, colors of peace, colors of rebirth. Liam broke the silence. "Do you ever think about how far you've come?" Elena smiled faintly. "Every day, I used to wish the pain away, but now I realize it shaped me. It gave me purpose." He stopped, turning to face her. "Elena, I know we've both been through a lot, but I can't imagine my life without you." She blinked, caught off guard. "Liam." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Inside was a delicate gold ring. "Elena Cruz," he said softly, voice trembling. "You taught me what courage looks like, what love means. Will you marry me?" For a moment, the world went still, the ocean quiet, the breeze holding its breath. Tears filled her eyes. "Yes," she whispered, smiling through them. 1,000 times yes. He slid the ring onto her finger, and she laughed through happy tears, wrapping her arms around him as the sunset bathed them in gold. The crowd nearby clapped, strangers cheering, some even recording the moment. And just like that, the girl who once wanted to disappear became the woman everyone celebrated. Months later, a video went up on her channel. The thumbnail showed Elena and Liam standing before the ocean, smiling. The title read, "From Bullying to Becoming, How Pain Led Me to Love." It was simple, heartfelt. In the video, Elena spoke to the camera, her voice soft but strong. "I used to think life was cruel, that people were cruel, but I've learned something. Life isn't about the people who break you. It's about the people who help you rebuild." She smiled, eyes glistening. So if you're watching this and you feel unseen, please don't give up. Your story isn't over. It's just beginning. She looked over at Liam, who waved from behind the camera. They both laughed, and the screen faded to black with her signature line, "You're not broken. You're becoming." That night, her mom texted her, "Proud of you, mi amor. You turned pain into power." Elena replied with a heart emoji and a single word. Finally, months later, her foundation, the Elena Cruz Project, launched its first nationwide anti-bullying tour. Schools from New York to Los Angeles invited her to speak. Her story wasn't just viral anymore. It was visionary, and as she stood before hundreds of students, she would always end her speech the same way. Forgiveness doesn't erase what they did to you, but it sets you free. Do you think forgiveness can truly heal the scars of bullying, or are some wounds too deep to forgive? Tell me what you believe in the comments below.
Thank you for watching all the way through. If this story moved you, the next one will surprise you in ways you won't expect. Go ahead and click the video on your screen. Your next story awaits.